I was sitting on the couch, mindlessly scrolling through my phone after another quiet dinner, when she walked into the living room with that expression. You know the one. The look that tells you whatever's coming next isn't a conversation. It's an announcement. She stood there, arms crossed, chin slightly raised, and said it like she was mentioning she'd be working late. I'm going on a trip next week, leaving Friday morning, back the following Friday. I looked up from my phone. A trip? Where to? Beach resort. Some people from work are going. Some people. I knew exactly who she meant. For the past 6 months, one name had been weaving through our conversations more than any other. Dennis. Dennis said this. Dennis thinks that. Dennis recommended this restaurant downtown. Dennis organized a team-building thing. Dennis. Dennis going? I asked, keeping my voice level. She didn't even hesitate. Yeah, he organized it actually. Him, Catherine from accounting, and a couple others. A week. She was telling me, not asking me, telling me, that she'd be gone for an entire week with the guy I'd watched her grow closer to for half a year. The guy whose texts made her smile at dinner. The guy she'd stayed late at the office with at least a dozen times. The guy who'd somehow become more important than the person she married. You're telling me you're going on a week-long beach trip with Dennis, I said slowly. And you're just informing me about this now. She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her eyes at me like I was being difficult. It's not like that. We're colleagues. Adults can take trips together without it being some dramatic thing. When did you plan this? A few weeks ago. A few weeks. She'd known for weeks and decided to tell me now, the night before she'd start packing. I sat up straighter. And you didn't think to mention it before now? Or ask if I was comfortable with this? That's when her expression changed. The fake patience disappeared, replaced by something colder, sharper. Ask. I'm not asking for permission. I'm going. And if you don't like my choices, then get a divorce. The words hung in the air between us, stark and final. She said it so casually, like she was daring me to react, like she fully expected me to back down and apologize for even questioning her. I looked at her, actually looked at her, and something inside me shifted. This wasn't the woman I married. Or maybe it was. And I'd just been too blind to see it. The disrespect, the coldness, the complete lack of consideration for our marriage. It had been building for months, brick by brick, until we were standing on opposite sides of a wall I hadn't even realized we'd built. I didn't yell, didn't argue. I just nodded slowly. Got it. She blinked, clearly expecting more of a fight. That's it? No big scene? Nope, you made yourself clear. She stared at me for another moment, then shrugged and walked toward the bedroom. Good, I'm packing tonight. Flight's early. I watched her go, heard her pulling suitcases out of the closet, humming to herself like she didn't have a care in the world, like she hadn't just thrown our marriage on the table and walked away from it. I picked up my phone again, but I wasn't scrolling anymore. I was thinking, planning. She wanted to make unilateral decisions about our marriage? Fine, two could play that game. The next morning, I woke up to find her already dressed, makeup perfect, pulling her suitcase toward the front door. She was wearing a new sundress I'd never seen before, probably bought it specifically for this trip. I'll text you when I land, she said, not even looking at me as she checked her phone. Probably texting him. Have fun, I said. She glanced up at that, suspicious of my tone, but I kept my face neutral. She shrugged, grabbed her keys, and left. I stood at the window and watched her load the suitcase into her car, watched her check her appearance in the side mirror and smile at her reflection, watched her drive away without looking back once. Then I pulled out my phone and started searching for divorce attorneys in the area. It was barely 7 in the morning, but I wasn't waiting another minute. She'd given me the solution herself. I was just going to take her advice. Looking back now, I can pinpoint exactly when things started changing. 6 months ago, almost to the day. She came home from work one Tuesday and mentioned a new hire in her department. "Dennis Hardy," she said. "Seems competent, has good ideas." Nothing unusual about that. People talk about their co-workers. But then his name kept coming up. Another Dennis story every few days. Dennis suggested a new workflow system. Dennis made everyone laugh during a meeting. Dennis knew this great lunch spot downtown. Then she started dressing differently for work. Not dramatically, but I noticed. Better outfits, more makeup, hair done with more care than usual. "You look nice," I said one morning. She barely glanced at me. "Just trying to look professional." The late nights started in month 2. She'd text me around 5 saying she had to stay late. Then 6, then 7. By month 3, twice a week she wasn't home until after 8. "Big project?" I asked one night when she finally walked in at 8:30. "Yeah, Dennis and I are working on the quarterly reports together. Takes forever." Always Dennis and I. Never the team. Never other co-workers. Just Dennis. I tried talking to her about it once. Asked if everything was okay between us. She looked at me like I was being ridiculous. "Everything's fine. Why would you even ask that?" "You've been distant lately." "I've been busy. There's a difference." But it wasn't just busy. Busy people still make time for their spouse. Still have conversations that go deeper than logistics about bills and groceries. Still look at you like they're happy to see you. She stopped looking at me like that months ago. Then came the texts. She'd be sitting next to me on the couch, phone buzzing constantly. She'd smile at the screen, type back quickly, smile again. When I asked who she was texting, she'd say, "Just work stuff," and turn the screen away. One night, her phone was on the counter while she was in the shower. It lit up with a message. I didn't pick it up, didn't read it. But I saw the name, Dennis. At 10:30 at night, work stuff. We stopped having any physical connection. She'd come to bed late after I was already asleep. Wake up early and be gone before I got up. On weekends, she'd find reasons to be busy. Errands, meeting up with friends. Suddenly, she had a very active social life that didn't include me. The few times I suggested we do something together, she'd sigh like I was being difficult. "I've been busy all week. I just want to relax." 3 weeks ago, I asked her directly. We were in the kitchen. She was making coffee before heading out for another girls' brunch that would somehow last 6 hours. "Are you happy?" I said. She looked up, genuinely surprised by the question. "What?" "In this marriage. Are you happy?" She stirred her coffee, not meeting my eyes. "I don't know why you're being so dramatic lately." "I'm not being dramatic. I'm asking a simple question." "Things are fine. You're overthinking." But she never answered the question. 2 weeks ago, she stayed out until midnight. Said it was a work dinner that ran late. She came home smelling like wine and expensive cologne. Not her perfume, someone else's. I didn't say anything, just watched her stumble to the bedroom, humming to herself. And then last Thursday came. The announcement about the trip, the casual way she threw it in my face, the complete lack of respect or consideration. And when I questioned it, when I dared to suggest it was inappropriate, She told me to divorce her, like she wanted me to. Like she was daring me to finally do something about the situation we both knew existed, but neither of us had named out loud. So I did. Monday morning, I called the first attorney on my list, a guy named Stanley Weaver, who had solid reviews and didn't sugarcoat things during our phone consultation. "How long have you been married?" he asked. 7 years? Kids? No. Shared assets? House? House is in my name. Bought it 2 years before we got married. She moved in after the wedding, but never contributed to the mortgage. I heard him typing. That simplifies things. What about vehicles? 2 cars, both in our individual names. I pay my loan, she pays hers. Joint bank accounts? 1 checking account we both put money into for bills. I have my own savings account she's not on. More typing. This should be straightforward. What's the grounds? She's having an affair. We're about, hard to say which at this point. But she's currently on a week-long beach trip with the guy. Can you prove the affair? I have months of text messages, late nights at work, and the fact that she told me to get a divorce if I didn't like her choices, then left anyway. He was quiet for a second. She said that, word for word? Yeah. Well then, when can you come in to sign the papers? By Tuesday afternoon, I was sitting in his office going through documents. He'd moved fast, which I appreciated. No wasted time, no false hope about reconciliation. Just clean, efficient process. We'll file these Thursday, Weaver said, sliding the papers across his desk. She'll be served when she gets back. You said Friday? Yeah. Want to be there when she's served? Or would you prefer she received them another way? I thought about it. I'll handle it myself. I want to see her face. He nodded like he'd heard that before. Your house, your name on the deed. You have every right to ask her to leave once she's served. If she refuses, you can involve law enforcement. Got it. One more thing, he said, leaning back in his chair. She's going to be angry, possibly irrational. Don't engage beyond what's necessary. Don't let her bait you into saying something that could be used later. I won't. When I got home that evening, I started on the next phase. I went through the house methodically, separating her things from mine. Clothes, toiletries, books, decorations she'd bought. Everything went into boxes, labeled and stacked neatly in the guest bedroom. It took me 2 nights to finish. The house looked different after, cleaner somehow, like removing her presence had cleared out more than just physical clutter. Wednesday night, my buddy Brad called. We'd known each other since college, and he was one of the few people who'd noticed things weren't right between us lately. How you holding up? He asked. Fine. Come on, man. Your wife's on a trip with another guy. You can't be fine. I'm handling it. He was quiet for a moment. What does that mean? It means I'm handling it. I'll tell you more when there's more to tell. All right, but if you need anything... I know, thanks. I wasn't ready to tell anyone yet. Not until it was done. No point in having conversations about it when nothing was final. Thursday, I worked from home. Took calls, answered emails, acted like everything was normal. But in the back of my mind, I was running through how Friday would go. She'd walk in expecting everything to be the same, expecting me to have spent the week missing her, maybe even feeling guilty for questioning her trip. She had no idea what was waiting. That evening, I got a text from her. The first one all week that wasn't just a brief, landed safe or weather's nice. It said, can't wait to be home tomorrow. Miss you. I stared at that message for a solid minute. Miss you. After a week of ignoring me, after rubbing this trip in my face, after telling me to divorce her if I didn't like it. Now she missed me. I didn't respond. Friday morning, I woke up early, made coffee, took a shower, got dressed. The divorce papers were in a manila envelope on the kitchen table. Her boxes were stacked in the guest room, door open so she'd see them immediately. I'd already called a locksmith for later that afternoon. The moment she was out, the locks were getting changed. Her flight was supposed to land at 2. She'd texted me the details earlier in the week, probably expecting me to offer to pick her up. I hadn't responded to that either. I sat in the living room and waited. Kept working on my laptop, half paying attention to emails, mostly just watching the clock. At 3:15, I heard her car pull into the driveway. This was it. I closed my laptop and stood up, moving to the kitchen where I could see the front door. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. The key turned in the lock. The door swung open. And there she was, tanned and smiling, pulling her suitcase behind her like she was returning from the best vacation of her life. She had no idea that vacation had just cost her everything. She dropped her suitcase by the door and headed straight for the kitchen, barely acknowledging me, standing there. "I'm starving," she said, opening the fridge. They had terrible food on the plane. I watched her root around, pulling out leftovers, completely at ease, like the past week had been perfectly normal, like she hadn't just spent 7 days with another man while her husband sat at home. She finally glanced at me. "You're quiet." "Just listening." "To what?" "No, welcome home." I almost laughed. "Welcome home. How was the trip?" She smiled, actually smiled. "Amazing. The resort was gorgeous. Weather was perfect. We had such a good time." "We," not I, "we." "Glad you enjoyed yourself," I said. She grabbed a fork and started eating the leftovers cold, leaning against the counter. She looked so comfortable, so confident, so certain that everything was exactly as she'd left it. "So," she said between bites, "did you think about what I said before I left?" I tilted my head. "About the divorce?" "Yeah," she said casually, like we were discussing what to have for dinner. "I meant it, you know. If you can't handle me having my own life, having friends, taking trips, then maybe we should reconsider this whole thing." There it was. The ultimatum dressed up as concern, the manipulation disguised as independence. I nodded slowly. "You're right." She blinked, not expecting that response. "What?" "You're right. We should reconsider this whole thing." She laughed, but it sounded uncertain. "Okay, so what does that mean?" I gestured toward the kitchen table behind her. "Why don't you look at what's on the table?" She turned, confused, and saw the manila envelope. Her expression shifted from confusion to something else, something that looked almost like fear. She picked up the envelope slowly, like it might bite her, opened it, pulled out the papers. I watched her face change as she read, watched the color drain from her tan, watched her hands start to shake. "What is this?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Divorce papers, like you suggested." She looked up at me, and for the first time in 6 months, I had her complete attention. "You're joking." "I'm not. This is insane. You can't just..." "I can. And I did." She stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign language, like she couldn't process what she was seeing. And I realized that despite everything, despite the disrespect and the affair and the complete destruction of our marriage, she never actually thought I'd do it. She thought I'd just take it forever. She was wrong. She read through the papers again, slower this time. Her hands were still shaking. When she looked up at me, her face had gone from tanned and confident to pale and uncertain. "This is filed already," she said, voice tight. "You filed these while I was gone." Tuesday. I'd been gone for 4 days, and you..." She stopped, jaw clenching. "You didn't even try to talk to me. Didn't call, didn't text. You told me to get a divorce if I didn't like your choices. I didn't like your choices. So here we are." She slammed the papers down on the table. "I didn't think you'd actually do it. People say things when they're angry. You know that. You weren't angry. You were completely calm. Matter of fact, even. You meant every word." She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "This is crazy. You're throwing away 7 years over one trip." "I'm not throwing away anything. You did that when you went on vacation with another man and told me to deal with it. Dennis is a friend, a colleague. Nothing happened." I just looked at her. Didn't argue, didn't debate. The lie was so obvious, it didn't deserve a response. She must have seen something in my expression because her tone shifted, got defensive. "You're being paranoid. This is exactly why I needed space. You've been suffocating me for months. Suffocating you by asking where you were at 9 p.m. on a work night, by suggesting we spend time together on weekends. Yeah, I'm terrible. That's not what I..." She stopped, running her hands through her hair. "Look, we can talk about this. We can work through it. But divorce? Come on, that's extreme." "No, what's extreme is telling your husband to divorce you, then being shocked when he does exactly that." She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Maybe she was. Maybe she'd gotten so used to me accepting whatever she did that the idea of consequences never crossed her mind. "Where are my things?" she asked suddenly, looking around. "Where's my stuff from the bathroom? Guest bedroom, everything's packed." Her eyes widened. "You packed my things. All of it. Made it easy for you." She laughed, but it came out bitter. "Easy for me, right? How considerate." "I thought so." She walked down the hall toward the guest room. I heard her open the door, heard the sharp intake of breath when she saw the boxes. Neat, labeled, stacked. 2 weeks of her life reduced to 6 cardboard boxes. She came back, and now anger was replacing the shock. "You had no right to touch my things. They're your things. You'll want them when you leave." "When I leave? This is my house too." "No, actually it's not." Her face flushed. "We're married. We live here together. The house is in my name. Bought and paid for before we got married. You never contributed to the mortgage, never paid for repairs or property taxes. You just lived here. That's not how marriage works. It's exactly how the law works. Check with your attorney if you want. Mine already confirmed it." She was breathing hard now, fists clenched at her sides. "So what? You're kicking me out? Just like that?" "You have until tomorrow morning to figure out where you're going. After that, the locks get changed." "You can't do that." "I can and I will." She grabbed her phone from her pocket, hands fumbling with it. "I'm calling my mother." "Go ahead." She turned away, phone to her ear. I heard her voice, shaky and high-pitched. "Mom, can you come over, please? I need you." While she talked, I walked back to the living room and sat down, picked up my laptop, started answering emails like nothing was happening. She finished her call and came back in, tears starting now. The anger was giving way to panic. My mom's on her way. And you're going to explain to her why you're doing this. Happy to? She's going to think you've lost your mind. Maybe. She paced back and forth, wiping at her eyes. I can't believe this. I go on one trip, and you decide our entire marriage is over. It wasn't one trip. It was 6 months of you checking out. 6 months of late nights and cold shoulders and texting someone else instead of talking to me. The trip was just the final confirmation. I wasn't cheating. You were emotionally checked out of this marriage and physically spending all your time with another man. Call it whatever makes you feel better. She stopped pacing. So that's it. No counseling, no trying to fix things. You don't want to fix things. You want me to accept being second place in my own marriage while you do whatever you want. I'm not doing that. I never said you were second place. You didn't have to. A car pulled up outside. Her mother. This was going to be fun. Martha had never particularly liked me, thought her daughter married beneath her. She'd made that clear enough over the years with her little comments about my job, my house, my clothes. The doorbell rang. My wife went to answer it, and I heard her mother's voice immediately. Sweetie, what's wrong? You sounded hysterical on the phone. They came into the living room together. Martha looked at me like I was something stuck to her shoe. What did you do? She demanded. I stood up, keeping my voice level. I filed for divorce while she was on a trip. What kind of man does that? The kind whose wife told him to get a divorce if he didn't like her going on vacation with another man. Martha's eyes narrowed. She went on a work trip with colleagues. She went to a beach resort with a man she's been inappropriately close to for months. And when I objected, she told me to divorce her. So I did. My wife was crying harder now, clinging to her mother's arm. He's kicking me out, Mom. He packed all my things. He won't even listen to me. Martha's face went red. This is her home. You can't just throw her out. The house is in my name. She's not on the deed or the mortgage. Legally, I can ask her to leave any time. That's ridiculous. You're married. Not for much longer. Martha looked like she wanted to hit me. Instead, she turned to her daughter. Get your things. You're staying with me until we figure this out. I'm not leaving, my wife said, voice shaking. This is my house. It's not, I said quietly. And if you're not gone by tomorrow morning, I'll have the police remove you. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. You wouldn't. Try me. Martha grabbed her daughter's arm. Come on, we're leaving. Let him be alone with his papers and his pride. See how that works out for him. They went to the guest room. I heard them moving boxes, talking in low, angry voices. 20 minutes later, they were loading her car with the first batch of boxes. My wife came back in one more time. Her eyes were red, mascara smeared down her cheeks. I hope you know you're making the biggest mistake of your life, she said. I don't think so. You're going to regret this. Probably not. She just stared at me, then turned and walked out, slamming the door behind her. I watched through the window as they finished loading her car, watched her mother put an arm around her shoulders, watched them drive away. Then I picked up my phone and called the locksmith. How soon can you come by? I can be there in an hour. Perfect. I hung up and sat back down. The house was quiet, peaceful even. For the first time in 6 months, I felt like I could breathe. The locksmith finished up around 7 that evening. New locks, new keys. I tested them twice to make sure everything worked properly. All set, he said, packing up his tools. Those old keys won't work anymore. Thanks. After he left, I ordered dinner and sat down with a beer. The house felt different, lighter somehow, like a weight I'd been carrying for months had finally been lifted. My phone started buzzing around 8. Her. I let it go to voicemail. It buzzed again 2 minutes later. Again. On the 5th call, I answered. What? We need to talk. Her voice was calmer now, controlled. She'd probably spent the last few hours strategizing with her mother. No, we don't. Please, just hear me out. I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. There hasn't. Can I come over, just to talk face to face? No. Why are you being so stubborn about this? I almost laughed. Stubborn? That's what you're going with? I made a mistake, okay? I shouldn't have said what I said before I left. I was angry, and I spoke without thinking. You weren't angry. You were cold and calculated. You meant every word. That's not true. I love you. I don't want this marriage to end. Funny how you suddenly love me now that there are consequences. She was quiet for a moment. What do you want from me? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I went on the trip. I'm sorry I said those things. Can we please just talk about this like adults? We are talking. I'm telling you the divorce is happening. You're upset about it. There's nothing else to discuss. You're really going to throw away 7 years over one fight? It wasn't one fight. It was 6 months of you prioritizing another man over your husband. The fight was just the breaking point. Nothing happened with Dennis. I don't care anymore. That seemed to hit her. Her voice got smaller. You don't care? No. Whatever did or didn't happen doesn't matter. You checked out of this marriage months ago. You made that clear every single day. I'm just finalizing what you already decided. That's not fair. Life's not fair. You'll get over it. I hung up. She called back immediately. I declined it. She called again. I turned off my phone. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 12 text messages. I scrolled through them while making coffee. Most were variations of the same thing. Please talk to me. We can fix this. I miss you. Don't do this. One stood out though, sent at 2 in the morning. You're going to regret pushing me away. I have rights too. There it was. The anger underneath the pleading. The entitlement that made her think she could do whatever she wanted, and I'd just accept it. I deleted all the messages and blocked her number. Monday morning, I was back at work. Brad stopped by my desk around 10. You look good, he said. Better than you have in months. I feel good. He pulled up a chair, lowering his voice. Okay, what happened? And don't tell me nothing. I glanced around to make sure no one was listening. I filed for divorce. His eyes widened. When? Last week. She got served Friday when she came back from her trip. Holy. He stopped himself. How'd she take it? About as well as you'd expect. Lots of crying, lots of anger, then lots of texts telling me I'm making a mistake. And are you? Not even a little bit. He nodded slowly. Good for you, man. Seriously. I've watched you put up with her attitude for too long. Yeah, well, not anymore. That afternoon, Weaver called me. Your wife's attorney reached out. She got an attorney already? Sharon Oliver. She's decent. Wants to discuss settlement terms. There's nothing to settle. The house is mine. The cars are separate. We split the joint checking account, and that's it. That's what I told her. She pushed back about the house. Said your wife deserves compensation for 7 years of marriage. Compensation for what? Living rent-free? That's essentially my argument. Look, she's going to try to drag this out, make it difficult. But we have a strong position. The house was yours before marriage. No kids involved, separate incomes. This should be straightforward. Good. One thing, though, she's claiming emotional distress. Says you blindsided her, caused her psychological harm by filing while she was on vacation. I actually laughed at that. She told me to get divorced. I did exactly what she suggested. That's what I figured. Do you have that in writing anywhere? Text? Email? No, it was verbal. But I'm sure if we asked her directly, she'd admit she said it. We'll see. For now, stay the course. Don't engage with her. All communication goes through me. Already blocked her number. Perfect. The week passed quietly. No calls, no surprise visits. Either she'd given up or her attorney told her to back off. I hoped it was the latter. Friday evening, I was at the grocery store when I ran into Catherine, the co-worker who'd supposedly been on the trip with them. She saw me, and her face went red. Started pushing her cart in the other direction. "Catherine," I called out. She stopped reluctantly and turned around. "Hey." "Quick question. Were you on that beach trip with my wife and Dennis?" She shifted uncomfortably. "I don't think I should talk about that." "That's a no, then." She looked down at her cart. "I was invited, but I couldn't go. Had family stuff. So it was just the two of them. And a few other people, I think." She met my eyes finally. "Look, I'm sorry. I told her it was a bad idea. But she didn't listen." "She rarely does." Catherine nodded. "For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. She's been different lately, not in a good way." "Thanks for the honesty." She pushed her cart past me, then stopped. "There's something else you should know." I waited. "They're not together anymore. Dennis and her. Apparently, he broke it off a few days ago. Said it wasn't what he thought it would be." I absorbed that information. So he was just in it for the thrill. Seems like it. And now she has nothing. "Yeah." Catherine looked genuinely sympathetic. I tried to warn her, but like I said, she doesn't listen. After she left, I finished my shopping and headed home. The information about Dennis didn't change anything. Didn't make me feel vindicated or satisfied. Just confirmed what I already knew. She'd gambled everything on something that wasn't solid, and now she was paying the price. Later that night, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line said, "Please read." I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. It was from her. A long, rambling message about how sorry she was, how she'd made terrible choices, how she understood why I was angry, but couldn't I please give her one more chance? She talked about the good times we'd had, the early years when things were easy, the plans we'd made for the future. But noticeably, she didn't mention Dennis. Didn't address the affair. Didn't take accountability for any of the specific things she'd done. Just vague apologies and desperate pleas. I read it twice, then forwarded it to Weaver with a note. "FYI, not changing my mind." He responded within minutes. "Good. Stay strong. This is classic manipulation. She's testing to see if you'll crack." I wouldn't. 3 weeks later, Weaver called with an update. "She signed the papers." "What?" "She signed. Her attorney convinced her she wasn't going to get anything more than what we offered. It's done. You're officially divorced, pending the final court date." I sat down, processing that. That was fast. She didn't have much leverage. Once her attorney explained the situation, she realized fighting would just cost her money with no benefit. When's the court date? 4 weeks. But it's a formality at this point. Everything's settled. After I hung up, I sat there for a while. Divorced? After 7 years. It should have felt sad or final or something. Instead, it just felt like closing a chapter I should have closed months ago. I picked up my phone and called Brad. "You free tonight?" "Yeah, what's up?" "Divorce is finalized. Want to grab dinner?" "Absolutely. I'll meet you at that steakhouse off Main Street." "See you there." I got ready and headed out. The evening air was cool, clear. As I drove, I thought about everything that had happened. The trip, the confrontation, the aftermath. I didn't regret any of it. She'd given me an ultimatum, made me choose between my dignity and keeping the peace. I chose my dignity, and honestly, it was the easiest choice I'd ever made. The court date came and went. 10 minutes in front of a judge, signatures on paper, and it was officially over. I walked out of the courthouse feeling lighter than I had in years. Brad was waiting by his car. "How does it feel?" he asked. Like I should have done this 6 months ago. We grabbed lunch at a diner downtown. He asked about my plans, whether I was going to sell the house, move somewhere new. "No point," I said. "I like the house. It's mine. Why would I leave?" "Fair enough." A couple months passed. I settled into a routine that actually felt good. Work, gym, time with friends I'd neglected. Simple things that had somehow become complicated when she was around. One Saturday, I was at Home Depot picking up supplies when I saw her across the parking lot. She looked tired, thinner. She saw me and quickly looked away, hurrying to her car. I didn't feel anything. No anger, no satisfaction, just nothing. That's when I knew I'd moved on completely. Later that week, Brad mentioned he'd heard through mutual friends that she'd tried getting back with Dennis. He'd turned her down flat. Apparently, he had a girlfriend now, someone who wasn't married. "Does that bother you?" Brad asked. "Not even slightly." And I meant it. She'd made her choices, prioritized excitement over stability, burned down her marriage for something that was never going to last. Now she was dealing with the aftermath. That wasn't my problem anymore. 6 months after the divorce was final, I went on a date. Nothing serious, just coffee with someone I'd met through work. It went well. We laughed, talked easily, made plans to meet again. As I drove home that night, I realized something. I was happy, genuinely happy. Not pretending, not settling, not making excuses, just happy. She told me to get a divorce if I didn't like her choices. Best advice she ever gave me. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.